We're opening up the June 12th meeting of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, and we need to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, then I guess we'll start right in. We need to take roll call.
Chair McNairland, absent. Vice Chair Whip,
Here.
Director Reed, here. Director Baucom,
Here.
Director Marshall.
Here.
Okay, then we'll be moving on into public expression. Any public expression from the non-agendized items? Being none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the last meeting of May 8th.
Move to approve. I second.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? We're good. Okay, then we have everybody's reviewed the check register, county expenses, reports from the city. Is there any issues on those that anybody wants to bring up?
Yes, I have one. I wanted to ask Dave, I had met with Dave Redding, thank you very much, and we talked about getting pre-approval for legal fees. We've got $36,000 in the last 2 months. In the May, it was paid off in May. So we got 40% of our expenses once again in attorney's fees, and I think they should be pre-approved, and there should be a cap on unapproved charges. And Dave and I had talked about that, so I wanted to ask if you thought about that or if you had time.
Okay, I need to interrupt at this point. This is not, I mean, if you want to bring it up at the end that you want this issue on a later agenda, that's fine. But if you want to address the bills, this is not the time to talk about setting up a different policy or process.
Okay,
So-
I would like to put it on the agenda for the July meeting about what we talked about, which would be pre-approve a certain amount for legal fees, and then everything else has to be approved for. I forgot the way you.
And I think just expenses in general.
Yes.
That you guys feel that needs to be brought before the board.
Okay, yeah,
I think speaking to the legal fees, we're still involved in arbitration, we're involved in the refinance, which we need to bring that up to put, I think, a hold on that. I think we should review that at the next meeting. Because I think to a degree it's been halted because of the fact without resolving the budget, it really doesn't do much good to proceed with in the dark. I think they're in the dark. So
yeah. So
we still have a lot of things going on that we need legal advice. I don't know if I can put a cap on that. I don't know.
but the bond refinance is actually a separate set of attorneys, bond attorneys. So.
But Donald's doing work with them all the time, so I don't know. We'll get that all straightened out and put this behind us, let's hope.
Okay. We also have John Sharp too, that he's going to be sending me a copy of his contract. We've got a bill from him that was a couple of years worth of billings. So I wanted to review the contract with you guys, so I'm going to bring that up. So we'll do that all together.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so other than that, we're all good with the check register, expenses, report from the city?
Move to approve.
Okay, so then we would have, we need to make a motion and a second to accept those?
Sherry made the first, right?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay. Then we have the discussion of possible action regarding approval of the engagement letter for Van Lamp. Fran Han.
Auditors.
The auditors.
Frank, yeah. Do you have any
We're
comments
gonna
about
dispel that
this?
kindergarten.
I have some questions, but I thought if you had some comments, I would like to hear them first.
Sure, we spoke with Mark Mollier, and he's been working with us through this transition period. So we are familiar with the firm, and it is our understanding that they are currently engaged in the audit for the 2014 through 2018. And I believe this is for the engagement letter for
Just this year,
This
this
year.
last past year. So my question is, we paid them, in May, we paid them $40,000, and I assume that would be the only payment, I don't
So-
remember, for the 5-year audit.
I think, so that engagement letter, I believe, was approved by the board to not exceed 50. And they worked on it for months and months, and their first invoice to us was the 40. So,
Yeah, so that was.
that may have been all that they needed to bill us for
Yeah,
that.
so that's why I was confused, because they did 5 years for what I assume is 40,000, might be a little more, and they're requesting 11,000 for just 1 year. When they had to get all this background data for the 5 years, they should have most of that kind of in place. I wondered why they needed 11,000. I guess I thought it was kind of high just for 1 year when they did the 5 years without anything to begin with. Now they have all that background data. I thought it'd be cheaper.
Was this I saw I had the 11.5, I don't remember if will be 11.5, these fees are based on anticipated cooperation. I got the
That's the maximum.
I got the idea that they were billing out, like on the previous contract, they billed out at the rate for the top individual and then a tier rate structure like the lawyers do. And I thought that they were, I kind of got that wasn't a firm bid, but
It says
from the
our,
language after, these fees are based on anticipated cooperation, where it could run more or it could run less, maybe, I don't know.
yeah, well, I called Brett and he didn't get back to me today. He must be out or something. I called him with that question, but he never called me back today, so.
I feel like it's just a simple question, and then he'll just address your concerns and.
Well, it says our invoices for these fees will be rendered each month as work progresses and are payable.
And I also wanted to ask him where he was in, excuse me, the 5-year audit, if he was almost complete with it, and where they were with the 5-year. Why they'd be starting the last year.
And if I may, there may be a difference in the type of audits we're doing, because I believe the 5 years is a compilation as opposed to an actual audit.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So there may be a difference in what they have to do for each one.
So it may be more in depth for this
Yeah.
last year.
And getting the actual documents, as opposed to just relying on the information they have.
So Julie, you want to wait and see if he calls you back? Do you want staff?
No, I
to-
mean, I think the guy's very trustworthy and I've talked to him several times, so I would go ahead and approve it, but I'll just call him or wait for his call and get my answer to those questions. I mean, I think they've done a good job and they're very,
I would imagine that they would work with us.
yeah,
He does.
If they've demonstrated that in the past.
yeah, that's what I mean.
And if he needs anything extra, he'll even come down and come to the office and sit in there with me, and I'll get him anything that he needs to finish anything that he's working on.
Yeah, I think he said that the 5-year would be done soon. I can't remember exactly, but he said it was almost.
He gave an update. I can go through my email and get the last update that he gave the district office, and I can forward it to you.
Okay, thanks. So I think, I don't have any more comments about that.
Okay, so I guess we're down to a motion, or,
Public expression?
okay?
Expression, I just, I understand what Julie's talking about. I can't really see it would be, you know, a couple of grand or something like that difference in the bill, so how much of that would be affected. I'm just really curious as to what they did find out. I'm looking forward to
For
their,
the last 5 years.
yeah, I really want to see what they come up with. That would be. that's
Yeah,
what
that
I'm
would have been
looking
nice
forward
to have before we go on to this last year, but
I'm wondering if the two are tied together so that when they do get the 5-year finished, they'll flip right into this next year, and then we'll get some cumulative numbers.
and he said he would come here and present it, I think. So we're expecting to have a
He
presentation.
almost has to, I
Yeah.
would think, yeah.
On top of the board,
Yeah, he said he would come and
suggestions.
present it, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, well, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Well,
Who had the
comment from
motion?
Public?
Public expression?
Thank you.
Who
Thank you,
made the
Doug.
motion?
I'll make the motion
Okay.
that we accept
Well, Andrea had made a motion, but,
No, she didn't on this one.
No.
No, that's one. I said
Oh,
public
she moved.
expression.
okay.
She made a motion
I
with
thought you
her.
were saying I'm making a motion. Don't hear very well, apparently. So we got we got
yes.
I'll second it.
Second. Here we go.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Okay, so on to the next would be what we've been waiting for, the general manager's report on ongoing district activities.
Yeah.
I don't want to disappoint you, man. I don't think we're gonna have all the problems solved in 1 month.
Well, bummer.
You're fired.
I thought we had Jared on it.
So last month, you guys made a decision to retain our services with the Willow Water District. Tonight, Jared's with me. We're going to be kind of team tag in the operations here. Going forward, if it's okay with you guys, it's just a lot to absorb, and I think that you guys would be better served by having, both of us involved. I mean, you have the staff of Willow Water District, but as far as the meetings, hopefully we'll both be here. There'll definitely be one or the other, and going forward. So this past month, there's a lot of moving parts, and you guys could have told me that I did before. But it's, we've engaged in conversations with a lot of folks past few weeks. I want to say Mark DeMoliner has been extremely helpful, and he is still available to provide assistance and communications, and he understands the difficulties of getting up to speed on this. So if that's okay with you guys, I think that he will still be involved to some degree, and it'll certainly be a big help to us if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, we need to keep him involved. He has all the knowledge.
And then CLA, your financial consultant, we had a phone conference with Jeff. They're currently preparing the monthly financial statements for the district, as well as the district year-end statement. We've had some conversation as to perhaps providing more assistance, since Mark's not going to be as involved. I'll be reporting more to you guys on that going forward. We don't know exactly for sure what that'll consist of. They're looking over, and we'll be coming back with some recommendations and proposals, and then we'll come back to you guys and see how that all works out. But again, not knowing how you guys feel, so I'm just stating what I sense from a very short conversation is that they're very intricate to the overall operations of the district here. And I hope you guys feel that they're valuable, because I, at this point, don't know what we would do right now without their
The CLA?
CLA,
Yeah.
yes. So then we also had a conversation with Mark Hildebrand. He's the one that's involved with the rate study that's being shared between the city and us. It's very informative. He's asked for the last 5 years of our tax allocations that we receive from the county. He wants to use that as a comparison for estimating potential tax revenues that we can anticipate getting. So he thinks if he can get the last 5 years, that will assist him in helping put together our income summary of going forward. So we, Chelsea can get that information from us, or we can go to
Why does he need the tax allocation to determine what kind of rates?
what we've been getting as far as tax revenue from the county for the past 5 years.
Yeah, what does that have to do with
The rate study, because it's gonna be based on he needs to know what type of income we have coming in for our expenses.
all the different types of
Yes.
income? So he just wants the taxes or what?
Just one part of the piece of the puzzle.
Just because the tax revenue is never a guaranteed number, it's always different.
It kind of varies from year to year, so he thinks that 5 years will give him an average that he can go by with.
And I assume he's working with the city because they're supposed to set the rates the same. So I don't know how that involves, well, he comes up with a number and the city comes up with a number and then they calculate what a fair rate would be, or?
Doubt if our rates will be the same.
I thought that was the goal of the rate study. perhaps.
Well, the goal of the rate study
Sean,
was to,
we talked about that at our meeting with the city of Ukiah, and Sean, I don't know, that came up, do you want to address
Sure,
that?
I think the
Thank you.
goal is actually, because there's a different amount of customers and different amounts of debt service and other things, that the rate will, in all likelihood, not be the same. But what we're trying to make the same is how the rate is calculated. So we'll adopt the same formula, plug in whatever the variables are for each entity, and then the rate will come out of that. So the methodology will be standardized, but the number at the end will probably not be the same.
Okay.
So there's going to definitely be more information on that as we continue going through that process.
When do you anticipate they'll be done with the rate study? Did they know?
They did not indicate to me, Sean, you have an indication are they predicting?
I have not heard a good estimate lately, and I can bug them on our next conference call. They were still waiting for a few bits of information. They're making headway out of that.
Okay.
Anything else from the rate study at this point? Good, because I don't know if I have it.
Well, have we had any requests for services? Has anybody come in? We had a couple of.
There are a few projects going on. The reason I kind of cringe is that, well, let me just back up. The hotel out at the Forks, there's a
56 units.
Yeah, 50 something, yeah.
At the fork?
So they contacted us about doing the ESSUs. And then,
And that has to do with the rate study. I mean,
well,
those two are tied together.
it's also, as I understand, at this current venue, it's the city of Ukiah that is calculating the ESSUs for the sand district. So I'm still working with Sean and, how that is and what's going to be going on in the future. But as of right now, I think the city, it's my understanding, and I'll be talking more to Sean about that. We have the Rose Industrial Park, which is an issue for us right now that we're trying to get resolved as well. And I'm going to need to talk to Teresa when she gets back from vacation to get a better understanding as far as there's as I understand, there's some concerns that the district has that it should probably be
Revisited, yes, correct.
Okay.
Well,
there's
there was an
one.
amendment to the ordinance that she found in some other reading she was doing that changed that calculation.
Okay.
Well, early on, Ernie and I looked into it before Teresa looked into it, and we found that if you did it the way the city did it, there's a $50,000 difference. And so both of us, I think, felt at the time that she was overcharged
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much held ransom because she couldn't get her building permits to finish it. She had contractors lined up and, concrete to pour until she paid that. And so
Okay.
I was going to ask actually to put it on the agenda for July.
I think that's a great idea.
So that's my.
And I believe I already did an opinion on this and researched it, and I can get you the information.
Well, and
On what should be done and what needs to be
Great,
corrected.
because the procedure is critical, because I don't want to contact her
Right.
without having good, clear direction. Has the fees already been paid? If they haven't, who they've been paid to? What's the protocol in getting refunded? There's just a lot of questions. I don't want to get her
Yeah.
going
And they've been paid, my understanding is the fees haven't been paid.
They've been paid.
They had to
And to
be.
be refunded, it needs to take a vote of the board. So I can share with you if you contact me, the information I have, and we can move forward with this.
Perfect.
So can we add that to the agenda too, please? For
Yes.
next month?
And if it's the pleasure of the board, I will work with our legal counsel, and he'll share with me the information he's got, and I may be able to get this resolved by the next month. And I'll just come back and report to you guys. Sounds like you guys all
Terrific.
support
Mhm.
that it's probably hasn't been calculated correctly, or we used the wrong formula.
I've been kind of in favor of changing our ordinance to reflect more like the way the city does it, because, and you and I have discussed that on the buildings, the four examples that I brought in here. There's a huge discrepancy between the city's method and the district's method, and the district's was always quite a bit higher. And when I went back to the water flow of a couple of those that I did, the water flow was less than the city's impact had anticipated. So, we were actually putting in less than what, those particular businesses. And now I'm sure that's not going to hold true across the board, but, it's impact fee or capital improvement fee, whatever you call it, it's kind of a wild guess
You're right.
because of the fact that similar buildings that have the occupancy, even though it might be a restaurant, might be a real busy one, or with their processing uses a lot more water, whatever they're cooking. They're all over the place. But my fear is that with the district's methodology, we're giving away a lot of capacity that doesn't end up at the plant. Where and since an ESSU is worth $13,000 nearly, and important for development, the more of them we give away, or the more of them that we allocate as used, not give away, but allocate as used, and not actually creating that impact, the less we have for future development.
That's really good.
Plus, we also discourage new development when we have such exorbitant fees. And the contractor, they kind of agreed with that. So we don't want to discourage new development.
Good.
So,
Okay. We also had a meeting, Jared and I, with the city, Sean, Dan, and Tim. I felt it was kind of a kickoff meeting, and I appreciate their taking the time. We found it to be extremely informative, and I look forward to have more conversations. Good accomplishments. Then the other item is the calculations of the monthly rates. There was a question that came up as far as how that's being handled. So apparently the district perhaps did the monthly calculations based upon water usage. But it's my understanding that this year, based upon the new service agreement, that the city will be actually doing the calculation. And Sean's here if he has any, if I'm mistaken. We have an email from the city. Mark Demolier has turned over the water usage to the city. They've said that they've received all the information they need and they will be doing the calculations. So between the building department and the other factors that you have, Sean, if that's different, we need to know, because we're anticipating that that information is going to be calculated by July and will be applied to the
August
billing
1st.
on August 1st.
It is. Should be.
But so we've always used water usage to determine.
3 months, yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
How would that be any different?
It's not,
It's not.
the district's just not.
It's just the
covered.
city doing it instead of the district.
Oh, okay, so it's still the same.
At the time that I've been at the city, the district never really did it. It's always been the city that did it. There was a period of time where John Dickerson was participating in the process, but he didn't really actually do it.
Okay. I know that we kind of bounced between 3 months, 2 months.
That's actually never changed. Your calculation is done under your policy, which is 3 months. And that's what we do it for you, but we use your methodology.
Okay.
And the city uses just January. When I actually met with Dave and Jared yesterday, we were talking about standardizing things like calculating ESSU fees and picking a uniform methodology for determining rates. That's probably another thing at one point that would be good for us to agree on a standard as well, and do that in the state. It's all going to the same place.
So the city has all the information they need and they will calculate it by the
Yeah.
August 1st billing cycle.
And they will be using district's formula.
The only problem I see with the city's methodology is the 1 month. Like I had a water leak in January at my shop, so I'm paying a couple $100 more in sewer than I need to. And it's,
If you can document a leak, the city will adjust it.
I went in there and they asked if the contractor turned in an invoice for the repair.
You can turn yourself one in.
I fixed it myself on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
you know.
that's when you pick up the phone, Ernie, but I mean,
Yeah, it was-
when we have situations like that anyway, where it's not with construction, but homeowners will repair it themselves, and if they have a January pattern that's regular in 1 year is ridiculous, we'll use an average. It's just like every other estimator, there's some scenarios where it's applicable and there's some where it's not. My problem with March in February, not so much February, but March, is that in a lot of dry years, people are already irrigating.
well, I'm thinking, I think
March.
January and February,
Yeah.
at least it give, 2 months gives you a
Mhm.
a correlation right in your face. You don't have to go back to the last year's, unless your computer program's sophisticated enough to spit out the last 5 years of January.
Yeah, that's the easy query for us.
Yeah.
March, the only thing I have is it's supposed to be looking at indoor usage, and in some years, March, people are already monitoring things.
So the good thing, I think, is that with the sanitation district, with the water district, that information is all right here in our office.
Right.
So when people come in, and we're not sending them all over town, trying to get the information back and forth.
And that was a big bottleneck before. So
But
it's
we have more than one, I'm not on Willow Water, we're on Regina, so it's only for the Willow Water
One colony.
customers.
No, but your Regina, your house is reported back to the district. Regina reports all
But
of
not
it,
to Willow Water, or,
but he reports it back to the district. All the ones that are on sewer, he has in a different database than the septic, and he reports those. I've seen the report.
He does. But you're right, he's not in our office,
And is
like
it this-
Millview, we have the records right here, but we do have a really close working relationship. So instead of telling the customer, you know, go across town, go talk to Regina, I mean, we can do this information, they'll send the information right over to us, right? And almost.
Dave's wife runs the office.
Right, while they're standing there, you know, so we can, you know, provide a
So it's easy to get the
better level of
information.
service and
Yeah.
to our customers.
Good.
With his morning coffee. Yeah, because we did have some trouble not once before, but it was trying to get record of what the water usage was. Regina, Millview,
And they were in different formats, so are you gonna
This year was so
standardize?
much different.
You're gonna standardize the format, or have they standardized
I
it?
can't speak for, well, you can answer that, Chelsea.
That was a project that the office assistant did. I believe they were monthly. A USB drive was given to all Millview, Willow, and Regina, and they put it on the USB drives and then repeated that for February and March, and then we just gave it to the city that way. And to me, I mean, I'm the one that sent the information over that Lori was missing, that she just didn't receive. I think it was like February. And that's when I made sure that she had everything that she needed, and it looked pretty standard. I don't know if Sean's seen it, but it looked pretty.
I can't remember which ones they use what, but some of them do use different
Yeah, where you can't
billing
merge them.
increments, so
Yeah.
they all need to be converted into one standard one. I can't remember what they are anymore though.
This
Well,
year's
some are
was
gallons
smoother
and some
than
are
last year,
cubic
though.
feet.
Exactly.
City runs cubic feet.
Yeah.
You guys run gallons?
Everybody but Regina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Ernie.
So other than that, okay, so that's about that, the director's reports. Anybody have any director's reports?
Not so much a report, but I have a request for the agenda for next month. I would like to have a discussion item regarding the May 7th letter from the law office to the grand jury.
The request for public information.
Right.
Okay. Good.
And I just had a question about, we talked about, and this might be premature because you're just getting started, but in the near future, I would like to set up an ad hoc committee to look at the JPA for all the water districts and for the city, and look at the two JPAs and compare them and see if one might work better than the other or what the differences are. And like I said, it might be premature, but maybe by the end of the summer when you have a good feeling for what's going on, I'd like to put that on the agenda and look at both of those together. What you have in your water district's, super board, and how we would fit into that.
I like that, super.
And that's kind of,
That's good.
and
No, it works
and
that
then
way.
also looking at the city's JPA and comparing the two and see what would be a better fit. So I don't know if it's premature because you're just starting, but I wanted to bring that up for very near future.
I'm
Whenever you
I'm here at the
feel.
pleasure of the board, so if it's more of a board decision.
Well, I want you to get more used to what's going on and get a handle on things.
And
And
that
then-
would be good.
Yeah, but I just brought it up because I'd like us to eventually
Good.
have a look at that. And I understand that you have a pretty good handle on what the water boards altogether
We've
looks
worked on that
like.
for quite a few years.
Yeah, so,
And it'd be nice to
perhaps not-
Share that information with you guys.
yeah, perhaps not next meeting, but the meeting after or something. Okay, so I just
I
wanted,
think they have a few meetings to go through. I think we need to get this ball rolling the way it's supposed to, which is the way it's rolled for the last 70 years or whatever it's been. Get the issues that we have in front of us squared away and then start in on that. But, I think we're really, to the service of our customers, we need to get all of these discrepancies and viewpoints behind us and then start working on something like that. I think we're gonna convolute the process in my mind, but That's my opinion.
I noticed it was just really great to have Dave here because I just felt like we're getting information as it should be. And for so long, Mark was great. He was primarily a numbers guy. I'm really enjoying hearing more ground, construction work stuff. And so I can tell you, it's been really great having Dave to go as a go-to guy. So.
Okay, so I don't think we need to take any action on any of that. So was there any letters received or sent? I see one here from the
It's just informational.
informational from the county that shows what our tax revenue will be.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, we announced the next regular meeting to be on July 10th at 2019.
Okay.
And we're probably going to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Unless anybody has any other comments.
Nope.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna say I really appreciated the mood and tone of this evening's meeting. Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you,
Cool.
Ernie.
There was no yelling, there was no arguing, and that was nice.